For assignment on Wednesday, you had to change some numbers into scientific notation, and you also had to change some numbers into standard form. What I'm going to do for this video is I'm going to go over a few from the top section and a few problems from the bottom section. We're going to go and begin with number 4. Number 4 wants us to write this number in scientific notation. Before we do that, let's go and review what scientific notation looks like. Scientific notation is a number followed by a multiplication sign followed by a power of 10. So what's important about this power of 10 is that it's allowed to be a positive number, a negative number, or 0. And then what's also important about the number in front has to be between 1 and 10. It's allowed to be 1, but it has to be smaller than 10. So if we look at number 4, this number is clearly smaller than 1. So we don't like that. It's not inside of notation. We have to move that decimal point to make it between 1 and 10. So I'm going to have to move this decimal place 5 times to the right. And what that's going to create is the number 2.38. We're almost done. We have the number. Now we just need to follow with our power of 10. And this is decided by how you moved your decimal. Since I moved it 5 places to the right, I know my exponent is going to be to the 5th power. Now the question is it going to be negative 5 or positive 5? Well, since we made our number bigger, our exponent has to become smaller. So it's going to be negative 5. Just like a teeter-totter or seesaw, if one side goes up, the other side has to go down. And this is what they want us to do, so you're allowed to box that answer, and you're all done. That's number 4. Let's go and look at number 7. This one's very strange for most of us because you're going to notice something. 9.5, that's a nice number. That number is between 1 and 10. So why would I give you this problem? Well, the question is, what would you do? What would be the power of 10? Well, we don't have to move the decimal. 9.5 is a good number. So what we figure out is that the power of 10 will then be to the 0 power. If I don't have to move the decimal at all, it's going to be to the 0 power. Nothing's going to happen. And this will be your final answer. Next one we're going to look at is 80 and 1/4. Well, there's no decimal point yet because it's written as a fraction. So let's go and rewrite this as a decimal. So remember, if you don't know what 1/4 is as a decimal, you can just, on your calculator, do 1 divided by 4. And what this would look like is 80.25. 1/4 is 25 cents, so 0.25. And now that I have the number, I can clearly look at my definition. This is not between 1 and 10. 80 is obviously bigger than 10. So I need to move that decimal point to the left 1 place so that we get the number 8.025. Since I moved the decimal place 1 to the left, we made the number smaller, so our exponent has to become bigger. And we moved it 1 place to the left, so it's going to be a positive 1. This is your final answer, so you go and box that, and you're done with number 9. Now let's look at the other type of problems. These ones want us to write them in standard form. So we have 4 times 10 to the negative 2nd power. Your first step is to decide where the decimal is because we don't want it in standard notation anymore. We want it in standard form. Standard form just means what does the number normally look like? Well, in this problem, the decimal is always in the back if you're not given a decimal. So the decimal is right behind the 4. It's invisible. We don't write it, but you need to know it's always in the back. And now that it says 10 to the negative 2nd power, since that's a negative 2nd power, that means we're going to make the number smaller. In other words, I'm going to move the decimal 2 places to the left. Whenever you have a missing space, we're going to fill that with a 0. So now our final answer is going to be 0.04. This is what the number originally looks like. This is our answer in standard form. Next one we're going to look at is number 15. It says 8.3 times 10 to the 0 power. Once again, we see that 10 to the 0 power. That means we're not moving the decimal at all. We don't have to move the decimal. And in fact, if you remember your exponent rules from chapter 1, anything raised to the 0 power is 1. So this is basically says 8.3 times 1. And we all know that 8.3 times 1 is simply 8.3. So this answer, we're all done, is 8.3. And then the final one, this was a tricky one. Number 18, it's 2.25 times 10 to the 2nd, all raised to the 2nd power. So the first step I would do is I would use the power rule. And the power rule says to distribute your exponent to what's inside the parentheses. So we're going to have 2.25 raised to the 2nd power. And then for 10 to the 2nd, remember when you have 2 exponents, we multiply them. So we're going to do 2 times 2, and that's going to give us to the 4th power. So we now have 2.25 squared times 10 to the 4th. And 2.25 squared, well, that just means 2.25 times 2.25. That'll be 5.0625. And then the times 10 to the 4th I just brought down. And now that I clearly see that the exponent is positive 4, that means we're going to move the decimal 4 places to the right. That means the number is going to get bigger since it's positive 4. So I'm going to take my decimal, move it 4 times to the right, and the number we create is 50,625. This is your answer in standard form. If you have any other questions about other problems on that assignment, just to go ahead and email me or message me on Google Classroom, and I'll kind of explain the steps for you. But hopefully by seeing 3 problems from each section, I try to choose the more challenging problems, you're able to finish the other ones. Okay, hope that helps. Remember, ask me any questions if you need further help.